Close down for a while.
Sure, go ahead. What is it?
Father's lightsaber. This is the weapon of a Jedi Knight. Not as clumsy or random as a blaster. An elegant weapon for a more civilized age. For over 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace and justice in the Old Republic. Before the Dark Times. Before the Empire.
How did my father die?
A young Jedi named Darth Vader, who was a pupil of mine until he turned to evil, helped the Empire hunt down and destroy the Jedi Knights. He betrayed and murdered your father. Now the Jedi are all but extinct. Vader was seduced by the dark side of the Force.
The Force?
And the Force is what gives the Jedi his power. It's an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us and penetrates us. It binds the galaxy together. Now let's see if we can't figure out what you are.
Hey, Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai Bashem, Rekakwadash, much mercy, and much respect to you brothers out there. Shalom, Kassad, Bakar, and like I say, much blessings, Barakatham to all you soldiers out there. I want to go into David real quick, because you have the traits of David. Some of the traits of David is that the Lord was with David. The Lord had mercy on David, and David had a courageous heart. He had a heart that displayed when the Lord is with you. That's what King David embodies, is something that when the Lord is with you, you're basically you're unstoppable in the spirit. There's nothing no one can do against you if the Lord is with you. You got to understand that David was something that the Lord really had was a person that the Lord showed mercy to. So the example of David in his time has everything to do with the mercy and the Most High actually being with you. So this is a very beautiful time, man. Acts chapter 13 verse 22. And when he had removed him, he raised him up unto them to be let me read again. And when he had removed him, he raised up unto them David to be their king, to whom also he gave testimony and said, I have found David the son of Jesse, a man after my own heart, which shall fulfill my will. You see, so King David was a man after the Most High's heart. And the election are that same way in this time too. You see, they will have the heart of flesh, which that heart of flesh is the flesh of Yahweh Shai. And when you go to the scriptures, when the apostles were teaching through Acts, never one time in the book of Acts they told anybody they needed a new body. The people instantly in Acts, they receive the Spirit by their belief and the apostles in Acts, which were teaching the new covenant, which were being prosecuted for the gospel, the true gospel. You hear guys talk about they teaching the gospel. You're not teaching the gospel, not agreeing with the covenant. You don't have nothing to do with the gospel. So David was a man after the Most High's heart, which King David, he had mighty men. But the thing about David is that he did the wishes that the Lord wanted him to do. He fulfilled the will of the Lord. You see, and when David went off, the Lord still had mercy on him. Now, one of the things about David, he had the heart to go up against the Goliath. David had the heart to go up against the grain, which when nobody would do nothing like that. What David did when he stood up to Goliath. You see, and this is why David pleased the Most High. He was a man after the Lord's heart, because David showed the type of heart, like the heart that David showed. Everybody don't have that type of heart. I mean, Saul showed you the flip side of how it would be, being somebody opposite of David. What Saul displayed. Saul wanted to kill David. You see, because Saul eventually he had lost his spirit, and the kingdom and the ruler was going to be David. These guys are in that spirit that Saul was in, because Saul was in that spirit where he didn't do everything the Lord told him to do. He only did some of it, and that's a lot of you lukewarm guys teaching. It don't matter if you fucking teach videos every day. If you don't agree with that covenant, then you're fucking lukewarm. You see, every last one of you guys that's been set up in these camps, and a lot of you guys with these guys in these groups, you don't even know these guys. You have no clue that these guys are not of the Lord. That's why it's so important that you understand and you be able to see where all the stumbling blocks is at. Because in this time, the majority of guys that's teaching these scriptures, they're in the spirit that Saul was in. They're not doing everything that the Lord told them that they had to do. They're not even following his commandments. So a lot of guys will say, hey, well, we're teaching the gospels. Well, you're not teaching the gospels if you're not agreeing in the covenant. So you have in these days it's very deceptive in these days, and we live in the carnal world, which everybody don't have the heart to do what's right. But King David, he had the heart to do what was right and to be courageous. You see? I want to read this. Acts chapter 13, verse 34. As concerning that he raised him up from the dead, now no more to return to corruption, he said on the wise, I will give you the sure mercies of David. And this is part of the covenant that the heavier matters of the law, which is mercy, judgment, and faith. With mercy, it goes into love. So the Lord had love for David because David was a man after the Most High's heart. And that's how the elect is in these times. Those men that stood so stiffly for the name of the Lord. And when you stand stiffly, you're not standing in the middle. If you're somebody that's standing for the Lord, then you agree with his son totally. So a lot of guys, they're not agreeing with the Lord. Like I say, what's out there right now, guys, on the highways and the hedges, they're not out there for the Lord. They're out there for their reputation. They're out there for their camp. They're out there for how they look. They're not out there for the Lord, because if they would be glorifying that covenant. This is what we got to understand. The the house of David will be doing the things that please the Lord. In the house of David, they will have the mercies of David in his time. Acts chapter 13, verse 35, it says, wherefore he saith also in another psalm, thou shalt not suffer thine holy one to see corruption. For David, after he had served his own generation by the will of the Most High, fell on sleep and was laid unto his fathers and saw corruption. But he whom God raised again saw no more corruption. Be it known, therefore, men and brethren, that this man is preached unto you the forgiveness of sins, and that is Yahushua, which stemmed from the bloodline of Jesse and King David, which is Yahushua, which David knew of Yahushua, Abraham knew of Yahushua, which was to bring a spiritual law now. So by accessing to spiritual power, you have to have love in your heart, and you have to have a heart of David. So if you don't have that type of heart, then you're not in the spirit. And a lot of guys are not in the spirit. Like I said, a lot of guys, they just want to be seen out there, and they're not doing it for the Lord. It's not about the Lord. What guys teaching? It's a whole nother fucking motive. Acts 13 and 39, and by him all that believe are justified from all things from which ye could not be justified by the law of Moses. And that goes back unto mercy too. So if you really study the scriptures and you understand the book of Acts, and you actually understand the apostles and Peter and what they were teaching, what they were doing was they were actually showing you how it would be to be in the spirit, agreeing in that covenant. You see? So like I say, the Lord, he brought a spiritual law, which those old laws of Moses that guys are teaching guys to keep, that law doesn't have any mercy in it. That's why when they brought that lady to the Lord and they say this lady committed adultery, and when the Lord asked these guys who else don't have any sin, couldn't nobody say anything. They had to walk off because all they asked was in the wrong. And so with the new covenant now, you have mercy through you having a good heart, and through you having the mind of Yahushua. The Lord has mercy on you. You see, not just to be a nigga, but the Lord has mercy on you. He's covered you in these times, just like David. David was a man after the Most High's heart. So therefore, the Lord loved David. And the story of David is something where you can understand where the Most High, he has, where he shows mercy unto you. You see? I want to read a couple things real quick. Because when you understand the mercy that the Lord had on David, it's the same mercy that David had, that he had on David. You know, all them times that Saul wanted to kill David, and David was able to get away and escape. You know, David had to get out of there and escape. And then even later on with his son Absalom, the Lord still was able to triumphate over Absalom. So the story of David is something to where David was chosen of the Lord, and he showed you the mercies of David. I want to read a little bit real quick. Yep. This is 1 Samuel 17. And you know what? I'm going to read. I'm going to start at 32. Now it says 1 Samuel 17:32. And when David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine. So David had that heart. You know, ever since he was a youth, he had that heart, man. And that's what's needed in this time. And, you know, having that heart like that, that's what, in this time being, having that type of heart and that love, that's what puts you in the spirit. That's what accesses you to spiritual power, man. Having love in your heart and being courageous for the Lord, being able to go all out like Abraham. Abraham showed that he went all out, and the Lord showed that too. He came and what he died. So he showed the Father that he was able to do the work that he sent him here to do. So when you go into what David did when he slew Goliath, that took a very courageous act too. It says, and Saul said to David, thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but an youth, and he is a man of war from his youth. So Saul right there, that's the doubt in his heart. But no matter the situation, David told him, he said, hey, thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine. You see? So David, he had a courageous heart, man. It says, and David said unto Saul, thy servant keep this father's sheep. And there came a lion and a bear and took a lamb out of the flock and went after him and smote him and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard and smote him and slew him. And it says, thy servant slew both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine be as one of them, seeing that he have defiled the armies of the living power. David said, moreover, that the Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion, out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said unto David, go, and the Lord be with thee. So David displayed that faith, that courageous faith. You see, Dave, you know, King David, he was a man of honor, man. He was a man of real integrity, and he actually showed that faith. You see, verse 38, and Saul armored David with his armor, and put a helmet and brass upon his head. Also, he armored him with the coat of mail. And David girded his sword upon his armor and said to go, for we had not proved it. And David said unto Saul, we cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. And David put them off him. And he took his staff in his hand and chose 5 smooth stones out of the brook and put them in the shepherd's bag, which he had, even in a scrip. And his sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine. And the Philistine came near unto David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. And the Philistine looked about and saw David, and disdained him, for he was but a youth and ruddy, and of a fair countenance. So when you examine it, you know, they looked, you know, the beast, the Philistine, he looked at David as nothing. But that's why the Lord said he don't look on the countenance. It's about where your heart is. And so we're seeing in these last days that a lot of guys' heart is not with the Lord. You see, the guys are part of the fucking world. So the countenance of David and his the heart of David, the will to know that the Lord was with him, these are the type of attributes David displayed. It says, and the Philistines said unto David, am I a dog that thou comest with me with staffs? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. And the Philistine said to David, come to me, I will give thy flesh unto the fowls of the air and to the beasts of the field. Right. So carnal men, they will always underestimate Yahushua. I mean, they will always underestimate men of the Lord. You know, they will because of numbers and multitude, because of the flesh, they will think that they have the jump on you. But right here with this story, when you examine this story, it doesn't matter about the multitude. It doesn't matter about the numbers. You have stories like this all over the scriptures where the Lord shows you that he deals with a small company. Now it says, then David said to the Philistine, thou comest to me with a sword and with a spear and with a shield, but I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts and the guard of armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. So you had David, which letting them know, like, hey, the thing he has is his power backing him. Where you had this warrior, he had this he had his army, he had his gear and all that shit. But David, pretty much, he knew he had the Lord behind him, and that's how it is in these times too. It don't take much to slew a giant if you have the Lord with you. It says, this day the Lord will deliver thee into my hand, and I shall smite thee and take thy head from thee, and I will give the carcasses of the host of the Philistines to this day to the fowls of the air and to the winds, that all the earth may know that there is a power in Israel. So the Lord, David was a man after the Lord's heart. And it's heavy like that because he had that confidence right there that the Lord was with him. You know, he wasn't like asking like, hey, am I this? I hope I'm this. David displayed confidence in the Lord. He displayed faith. You see? And all the assembly shall know that the Lord saveth not with the sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands. See, the battle is the Lord's. And what's important is you have the connection unto the Lord, which in these times, the connection with the Lord is with that covenant. You see what I'm saying? So if you let guys get you to deny your covenant and your power, then you don't have any power. You don't have any rest in these last days in the spirit. You're restless in the spirit, like these guys in these groups. They don't have any peace. They can't come into the rest of Yahushua because they're carnal. They can never get enough. And plus, they're not doing it for Yahushua. They're doing it to be seen and to make money. So there's no end to that. You see what I'm saying? But in Yahushua, there's a rest. There's a rest in the spirit. You see, understanding, doing the things that are right in these times. You see what I'm saying? Now let me read this. It says, and it came to pass when the Philistine arose. It says, and it came to pass when the Philistine arose, and it came and drew nigh to meet David, that David hasted and ran toward the army to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand in his bag and took thence a stone and slang it and smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stone sunk in his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine and slew him. But there was no sword in the hand of David. You see that? This is heavy, because you got all the you had this big ass carnal beast. He had his sword, and he had his gear, he had all that. But David said what? He had what? Let's read this again. 1 Samuel 17:45. Then David said to the Philistine, thou comest to me with a sword and with a spear and with a shield, but I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts. That's right. So when you read about the men in that, like Abraham and King David and the men of the Lord, Gideon, they believed in the Lord, and they actually agreed with the Lord on what to do. Now, like Saul, he didn't do everything the Lord told him to do. So you're not in that agreement. Just like today, guys is teaching the Bible, but they're not in total agreement with the Son. They're waiting on new bodies. So the wickedness and the unbelief and the carnal mind frame of our people today. That's why you have to avoid broad gates and temples, because there's no faith there. And the Lord is not there ultimately. So how the fuck you think the Lord is there if you're denying him and shit? If you're talking about, I can't be in the covenant with him. The scripture didn't tell you that you needed a body. So all I wanted to say, I just want to get you to understand that the Lord cannot possibly be in these groups, even if they're talking about they know the name. That don't mean a goddamn thing. When King David slew Goliath, he knew in his mind and in his heart that he truly believed in the Lord, and he was in truly agreement with the Lord. So he knew he would be able to slay Goliath. You see what I'm saying? Like, he had it in his mind because he knew the Lord was with him. Guys in this time, they've been taught that they're not in that agreement with the Lord right now. So they don't have that mind of David, that the Lord is with them like that. They're hoping and shit. They're waiting on spiritual power. But David showed you that he had it and he believed in it. See, a lot of guys, they don't believe in it. Let me read this again. 1 Samuel 17:50. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a slingshot and with a stone, and smote the Philistine and slew him. But there was no sword in the hand of David. You see that? So this fight is not carnal. It all starts from within. So like from within, if they could tell you to deny the Lord, and get you to make you think you don't have power yet, then you lost already. You lost. All you guys in these groups, you lost the spiritual battle because you denied the power. You denied Yahweh Shai. You didn't have enough faith in the Lord. You put your trust in men. That's why the scriptures say don't put trust in men. That's why you got to read the scriptures, man. That's why you got to read the scriptures. And ultimately, a lot of you guys, you're not of the Lord. You don't have the heart of David. You don't have the mind of Yahweh Shai. Ultimately, you're not of the Lord. Because the ones that actually have the faith, they're going to fight. Like Jacob. Jacob had that fight with the angel. And he didn't let that angel go. And that's the type of spirit that the elect are going to be in. You have to be in that mind frame of David to know that the Lord is with you, to slew all types of big ass obstacles. And so just like today, and just like the Lord, when the Lord was on the scene, he had the strength and the power, and he agreed with the Father, and he was able to confound all those scribes and the Pharisees and to do all those miracles, because it's a certain mind frame that the men of the Lord had that everybody can't fucking duplicate. You see what I'm saying? Like, everybody can't duplicate the mind of David or the mind of Yahweh Shai. You see what I'm saying? Like, you really have to be born with it. Like Jeremiah, he was born with it. So when it's time for that to kick in, it could kick in. Like, now's the time for you to have all the faith in the Lord and to understand that he's your power, and to understand that he's going to get you through all obstacles. Understand that he's guiding you, he's shielding you. You see? All that faith that David had when he slew that big ass Goliath. This is what it takes. That's why the Lord was a man after that's why David was a man after the Lord's heart, because the Lord, David had full faith in the Lord, just like Abraham. And before Moses, it was Abraham. So before the laws of Moses, it was Abraham. So after the laws of Moses are pretty much were done away with, when the Lord came on the scene, now the Lord gave you new laws, which they're all spiritual now. It all goes back to what? Faith now. Now I want to read a little bit of the mighty men of David, because David, he was a mighty man himself, but he had mighty men. And the trace of the mighty man, that what they could do extraordinary things. 2 Samuel 23:8. These be the names of the mighty men whom David had. A Tachmonite that sat in the seat of chief among the captains. The same was Adino the Eznite. He lift up his spear against 800 whom he slew at one time. So one of his mighty men, they slew 800. You see? And just like today, like back in them times, just like they slew men in the physical, in this time you have men slaying guys in the spirit. That's why part of what the Lord said, you're going to do greater things than I did, is part of what? Slaying guys in the spirit in this time. Now it says, and after him was Eleazar, son of Dodo, the Ephraimite, one of the three mighty men with David, when they defied the Philistines that were gathered together to battle. The men of Israel were gone away, and arose he and smote the Philistines till his hands were weary, and his hand cleave unto the sword. And the Lord wrought a great victory that day, and the people returned after him to spoil. So you had another mighty man. He smote the enemies until his hand was weary. You see? These are the traits of the mighty man. Slaying many, slaying 800, slaying another one, slayed so much until his hand was weary. It says, and after him was Shammah, son of a Agi, Hararite, and the Philistines were gathered together into a troop. And there was a piece of ground full of lentils, and the people fled from the Philistines. But he stood in the midst of the ground and defended it, and slew the Philistines, and the Lord wrought a great victory, just for having the heart to stand up. These were some of the Lord's mighty men. They had the heart and the mind to actually stand their ground, and the Lord was with them. It says, and 3 of the 30 of the 30 chief went down and came to David in the harvest unto a cave in Adullam. And the troop of the Philistines pitched a valley in Rephaim, and David was then in an hole, and the garrison of the Philistine was in Bethlehem. And David lodged and said, all that one give me a drink of water in the well of Bethlehem, which is by the gate. And the 3 mighty men break through the host of the Philistine and drew near the water out of the well of the brook that was by the gate that took it and brought it to David. Nevertheless, he would not drink thereof and poured it out unto the Lord. But he says, be it far from me, O Lord, that I should do this. Is not this the blood of the men that would jeopardize, that would in jeopardy of their life? Therefore he would not drink it. These things did these three mighty men. So the mighty men, they were doing, the men of the Lord, they were doing things that was not normal. It says Abishai, the brother of Joab, the son of Zeruiah, was a chief among the three, and he lifted up his spear amongst 300 and slew them, and had the name among the three. So you had one man slaying 300, another man slaying 800. It says he was not the most honorable of the three, therefore he was their captain, howbeit he attained not unto the first three. Benaniah, the son of Jehoiada, son of the valiant man of Kabzeel, who had done many acts, he slew 2 lion-like men of Moab. He went down also and slew a lion in the midst of the pit in the time of snow. And he slew an Egyptian, a goodly man. An Egyptian had a spear in his hand, but he went down to him with a staff and plucked the spear out of the Egyptian's hand and slew him with his own spear. These things did Benaniah, the son of Jehoiada, had the name among the three mighty men. He was more honorable than 30, but he attained not the first three. And David set him over his guard. So the mighty men, they were doing things. They were with David, and they were men of high stat. They wasn't regular men doing regular shit. They were slaying hundreds, 800s, 300s. They were slaying like this one right here. Verse 20, it says, and Benaniah, son of Jehoiada, the son of a valiant man, Kabzeel, who had done many acts, and slew 2 lion-like men of Moab. You see, so you had these mighty men of David slaying guys, man. You know, doing certain acts that they was worthy to be around David, because David was a man of war himself. So I'm just saying that to say this at this time. The Lord has his mighty men right now, and his few mighty men are able to slay the thousands, like the Joshua 23 and 10. The Lord tells you that one can slay 1,000, 2 can put 10,000 to flight, so on and so forth. 1 Samuel 18 and 14. And David behaved himself wisely in all his ways, and the Lord was with him. And what's one of the top wisest ways to conduct yourself right now is to understand that Yahweh Shai is over the whole scriptures, and you have to follow his commandments now. That's a way to follow that's actually wise in this time. Is nothing else more wiser that you can do than that. Let me read that again. And David behaved himself wisely in all his ways, and the Lord was with him. Wherefore, when Saul saw that he behaved himself very wisely, he was afraid of him. You see, and so we're in that time right now that you have to, the most wisest thing you do is practice that new covenant. You see? Is practice that new covenant. And and have that heart of David, a man after the Most High's heart. Let me read this. Being able to understand that faith, like the brother said, takes that a little faith would take you a long way, and that's actually right. John chapter 14, verse 12. Verily, verily, I say unto you that he that believeth on me, the works that I do, he shall do also. And greater works than these shall he do, because I go unto my Father. And the only way you're going to be able to do these great works, like the examples of all the mighty men doing those things that they did, this is what you're going to be doing in the spirit in these days. You're going to be slaying thousands. You're going to be pulling down guys on high seats. This is part of and you're not going to be doing that disagreeing with the covenant. All these works that you're going to be doing, you have to be in agreement with that covenant. So nobody's doing great works except the ones that's agreeing on the new covenant. You see? So all the works that are being done now, they're being done in the spirit. All the works that are being done, they're being done in the spirit. And only the ones of the spirit can actually grab hold into what's being done in these days. That's why these groups in these camps, they were set up to keep you in a carnal mind frame, so you don't understand the spirit and what you need to do in the spirit. What you need to do in the spirit, you need to totally be in agreement with Yahweh Shai. Therefore, the works that the mighty men did, that was just an example of what we're going to be doing in the spirit in these days. Because that's what it's going to take. It is going to take you to have that faith. And like the scripture tell you, the power came on them in Acts when the spirit came on them. And so by you having that the spirit, you'll be able to do those mighty works. And remember, David was a man after the Lord's heart, because he did everything the Lord told him to do. And that's how you have to be. You have to have your faith in the Lord. So how do you show your faith? Through your works. And so the works that you do, it's not just works like everybody else is doing. You're doing a different type of particular work that's actually help bringing down the stronghold. Like the weapons of our warfare, they're not carnal, but they're mighty through pulling down strongholds. So like the carnal example in the Old Testament of King David and the mighty men. Now, when you go to the New Testament and the New Covenant, everything is of the Spirit now. So that's why Peter and the Lord and Stephen and all them, they were able to slay so many people in the Spirit. Stephen and even Yahweh Shai, they were able to condemn so many thousands of people in the Spirit. And that's why the men of the Lord, they got put to death in the New Testament like that, because they were actually putting men to flight. They were destroying the wicked. They were tearing guys down in the spirit. Matter of fact, I'm gonna read that before I get out of here. This is exactly what's happening now. Second Corinthians 10:4. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through the Most High to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalteth itself against the Most High. So everything that those, when you go back to King David and the mighty men, they was able to slew so many, to get over so many obstacles and do so many courageous things in the physical. But now in the spirit, you're able to slay men in the same way, because what, you have that heart of David. You know, you have that heart. You have the mercies of David. Like the Lord said, he will give you the mercies of David. And it's not about being noticed on the outwardly. It's about actually being noticed inwardly by the Heavenly Father. That's where that confidence comes from that David had, because he knew the Lord was with him internally. So just a few things to understand. The mighty men of David, they're back in this time. But it's a spiritual war where you're able to chop down so many in the spirit. And basically, with that, man, it'll be on to the next one. Hey, Shalom.
They look thirsty! Well, let's give them something to drink! To the clan!